Think about the power hidden inside your own mind. This incredible tool is with you from the moment you wake up until the second you fall asleep, guiding your decisions, fueling your emotions, and shaping your outlook on life. However, while it can be your strongest ally, it also has the capacity to become your greatest enemy. If you are not careful, your mind will tempt you to remain exactly where you are rather than encouraging you to strive for the goals you truly desire. It can fill your head with doubts like, what if I fail? Or what if others judge me? And those questions can feel so real that you believe them without a second thought. The real trick is that your mind often acts more like a defense mechanism than a bridge to success. It was built to keep you safe, not to make you extraordinary. It's easy to imagine that whenever you experience fear or hesitation, it must mean something is genuinely wrong. In reality, your brain might simply be reacting to anything unfamiliar. Stepping out of your comfort zone can trigger the same alarm bells that once kept our ancestors alive in dangerous environments. Yet, in modern times, many perceived dangers are not actual threats to our survival. They're more like signals that you're about to step into new territory that could lead to growth and progress. If you don't watch out, the mind's habit of telling you to play it safe might hold you back from ever discovering what you are capable of achieving. The truth is that countless people around the world never stop to question this built-in safety system. They go through life believing every negative thought, absorbing every self-doubt, and letting every form of insecurity run their lives. Instead of seeing these thoughts as random bursts of worry, they accept them as pure truth. This acceptance then places an invisible barrier between them and their full potential, leaving so many dreams unfulfilled. The amazing reality is that you can learn to work with your mind rather than letting it work against you. It just requires recognizing that many of your fears and uncertainties are signals of growth, not danger. Once you identify this, you can start taking control and begin shaping a life that matches your real potential. Your mind might whisper that you're not good enough, telling you that you aren't smart enough, strong enough, or gifted enough to chase your goals. You might notice this whenever you start something challenging, like learning a new skill or attempting to reach a new fitness milestone. That nagging voice in your head can replay old mistakes or negative experiences, constantly reminding you of moments when things didn't go as planned. Left unchecked, these mental habits can trap you in a cycle of low self-esteem and doubt, making it tough to trust in your own abilities. It's crucial to understand that thoughts are not the ultimate truth. Just because your mind suggests you're going to fail does not mean you actually will. However, if you embrace those thoughts without questioning them, you might never take the steps needed to move forward. Think of your mind as a guard at the gate of your comfort zone, always looking for reasons to keep you safely inside. The guard calls out scary possibilities, embarrassment, rejection, criticism, all in an effort to persuade you to stay put. In many cases, you might accept that warning and decide it's best not to try at all. But what if, just on the other side of that gate, lay a brighter future, a new friendship, a career opportunity, or a personal transformation? Consider people you admire, who appear to have overcome immense struggles. You might look at them and assume they were born with extraordinary talents or a special mindset. The reality is often different. Most of them had fears similar to yours. They encountered moments of deep doubt, just like anyone else. What set them apart was their willingness to challenge their own self-limiting ideas. They refused to let the relentless chatter of the mind keep them from moving forward. Instead of letting their fears define them, they learned to see those fears as prompts for growth. This shift in perspective takes practice, but it's accessible to everyone. By understanding that your mind's protective instincts can masquerade as evidence of your limitations, you start to gain power over them. When you name these limiting beliefs and see them for what they are, simply attempts to keep you comfortable, you open the door to real transformation. One powerful story comes from an individual many consider the epitome of self-discipline, David Goggins. Today, he is known for extreme endurance events, military achievements, and a near superhuman ability to push past discomfort. Yet, if you rewind to an earlier period in his life, you find a man who was out of shape, lacking confidence, and stuck in an unsatisfying routine. Back then, he allowed his mind to dictate his choices. Whenever challenging situations emerged, he defaulted to a mindset of avoidance. He would persuade himself he wasn't ready, wasn't good enough, or that it was too late to change. Something within him snapped one day. Tired of feeling powerless, he decided he would no longer let his mind call the shots. He began facing hard physical tasks, long runs, intense workouts, rigorous schedules, and forcing himself to act even when he didn't feel motivated. He realized that while his mind could produce 1,000 reasons to remain inactive, those reasons were not absolute truths. They were just the protective instincts of a brain and used to being challenged. Bit by bit, he formed a routine of discipline, waking up at the crack of dawn, exercising relentlessly, and holding himself to standards that most people would consider extreme. Goggins' transformation didn't occur because he magically removed all doubt or fear. Instead, he learned to interpret negative mental chatter as a sign of growth rather than a declaration of failure. If he felt like quitting, he took it as a clue that he was on the verge of breaking through another barrier. Over time, his life shifted entirely. The same mind that once limited him became his most potent tool for success. His story is significant not because everyone needs to run ultramarathons or join special operations, but because it highlights a universal truth. You have the power to teach your mind new habits and new levels of resilience. His journey serves as a vivid reminder that no matter how strong your mental barriers seem, they are not permanent. If you commit to steady, consistent efforts, you can gradually reshape your thinking. By wrestling with your discomfort and fears, you begin to see them differently, not as signs you should stop, but as signs that you should keep going. Now, the big question is how to train your own mind so it supports you rather than sabotages you. A useful strategy is to start small but stay consistent. You do not need to overhaul your entire lifestyle in one day. Instead, pick a single habit that challenges you just enough to step out of your comfort zone. For instance, commit to a short workout every morning or decide to learn a new skill for 15 minutes each day. When your mind tries to bargain with excuses, "I'm too tired, I'll do it tomorrow," or "this will never work," take it as a cue to continue. By refusing to give in to those excuses, you gradually teach your brain that you won't be controlled by fear or doubt. Another valuable practice is to engage in deliberate discomfort. This might be as simple as taking cold showers, waking up an hour earlier than usual, or tackling tasks that feel slightly intimidating. The goal is not to cause yourself unnecessary pain, but to show your mind that you can endure and overcome discomfort for the sake of growth. Over time, these small acts build mental toughness. They reduce your reliance on feeling ready or motivated, proving that progress can happen even when conditions are far from perfect. Action is the ultimate antidote to negative thoughts. Instead of trying to outsmart your mind or argue with every self-defeating idea, simply do the thing your brain insists you cannot. If your mind says you're too scared to speak up, volunteer to answer a question or share an opinion. If it says you will fail if you try that new career, start researching or taking courses related to that field. Each action is a direct message to your mind that its fear-based chatter is not in charge. Most importantly, recognize that setbacks and failures are part of the journey. Training your mind does not mean you will never stumble or get discouraged. Rather, it means you learn to view these setbacks as stepping stones. Every time you keep going despite a slip-up, you reaffirm your power over your thoughts. With time and patience, you'll notice your mind gradually shift its tone, offering less resistance and more cooperation in everything you do. The next important piece in controlling your mind is to be mindful about what you feed it every day. If you constantly scroll through negative news stories, compare yourself to seemingly perfect lives on social media, or spend time around people who discourage ambition, your mind will absorb that negativity. Before you know it, your thoughts will reflect the discouraging information you've been taking in, and you'll start to believe there's no hope for better outcomes. It becomes a vicious cycle. The more negativity you consume, the more negativity your mind produces, which then makes you less likely to take meaningful action. One solution is to become intentional about your mental diet. This means filtering the information you allow into your life. Instead of letting social media or the news run on autopilot, decide how much time you spend there and be selective about the accounts or sources you follow. Seek out content that inspires, educates, or motivates you, like podcasts on self-development, online communities focused on growth, or books that offer positive strategies. Also, be aware of the people you choose to spend the most time with. If they constantly complain, make excuses, or belittle your aspirations, it might be time to set boundaries or diversify your social circle. This doesn't mean you have to ignore every negative story or live in a bubble of forced positivity. It simply suggests that you learn to recognize what adds value to your mindset and what drags you down. Imagine your mind as fertile soil. Whatever seeds you plant and water will eventually grow. Plant seeds of encouragement, knowledge, curiosity, and resilience, and your mind will begin to reflect those qualities. Keep in mind, this is not an overnight transformation. It takes conscious effort and a willingness to step away from old habits. Look for mentors, in person or through the content they share, who have achieved the kind of growth you aim for. Let their stories remind you that change is possible and that setbacks are just temporary obstacles. When you spend more time in uplifting mental spaces, you're effectively training your mind to see opportunities rather than dead ends. Over time, this shift in focus can make all the difference between staying stuck and making real progress. Another crucial component of mastering your mind is learning to control your emotional reactions. Each day, you face situations that can trigger anger, sadness, frustration, or anxiety. In these moments, it's easy to let your feelings take the wheel, driving you to say or do things you might regret later. But reacting impulsively usually means handing over your personal power to whatever external event caught you off guard. To break this pattern, train yourself to pause whenever strong emotions arise. Begin by simply noticing the surge of emotion. You can even label in your mind, this is anger or this is fear, rather than letting it consume you without awareness. Then, instead of immediately saying something harmful or making a reckless decision, take a few deep breaths. This brief pause creates a tiny gap between stimulus and response, giving you a chance to consider what you truly want to do next. In that gap, you can apply logic, compassion, or any other value you care about. Over time, this habit of pausing will become more natural. You will find that even though the emotion is still there, it doesn't control you in the same way. Instead of reacting blindly, you respond thoughtfully. This skill is vital if you want to keep your mind aligned with your goals, because an untrained emotional reaction can derail hours, days, or even months of progress. Whether you lash out at someone important to you or abandon a project out of frustration, an unchecked emotional outburst can cause deep regret. Mastering your emotions does not mean suppressing them or pretending they don't matter. Emotions can be important signals that something needs attention or that a boundary has been crossed. The goal is to acknowledge them, learn from them, and still make choices that align with your best interests. By combining this emotional awareness with the daily practice of overcoming self-doubt and fear, you gradually build a stronger, more focused mindset. Each time you handle a difficult emotion without letting it sabotage your progress, you reinforce the understanding that you, not your impulses, are in control. This sense of self-mastery strengthens your confidence in all areas of life. Let's not ignore the elephant in the room. Change is hard. Training your mind is one of the most challenging journeys you can embark upon. Why? Because it demands a complete shift in how you react to fear, doubt, and discomfort. Things your brain has been trying to avoid for as long as you've lived. But consider the alternative. If you never challenge the negative thoughts that hold you back, you might remain in a cycle of regret, always wondering what would have happened if you had taken that risk or pursued that dream. The pain of regret often runs deeper and lasts longer than the pain of discipline. You have the power to choose which pain you are willing to endure. The pain of discipline involves doing things you don't feel like doing, such as waking up early to work on personal projects, studying an extra hour after a long day, or saying no to temptations that waste your time. While uncomfortable, this pain typically leads to growth, opportunities, and a sense of achievement. On the other hand, the pain of regret might seem like the safer path initially. You avoid short-term discomfort, but over time, you may be left with lingering doubts and a nagging feeling that you missed out on your true potential. Think about how many people reach a later stage in life and realize they lived only half the life they could have. Their minds were filled with what-ifs and it's too late now. The reality is, as long as you are breathing, it's never too late to start reshaping your mindset. Yes, It can be difficult to break lifelong patterns of fear or low self-esteem, but each small victory compounds over time. With every tiny step you take, whether it's pushing through a tough workout, initiating a new project, or having a challenging conversation, you're proving to yourself that you are stronger than you thought. This process of choosing discipline over regret will not automatically erase doubt. You might still feel nervous before taking action. Yet each time you push forward, you weaken the stronghold that fear has on you. Eventually, you reach a point where mental resistance lessens, and you feel more confident tackling the next challenge. In the end, what matters is not whether you ever feel doubt, but whether you allow that doubt to stop you. In the grand scheme of things, your mind can be your greatest foe or your most loyal friend, and which role it plays depends on the habits you cultivate day in and day out. We often look for enemies in our circumstances, blaming our failures on lack of resources, unfair situations, or other people's actions. Sometimes external factors do create real hurdles, and it's important to acknowledge that. Yet more often than not, the biggest hurdle is the internal narrative that tells us we can't, we shouldn't, or we're not cut out for it. Learning to rewrite that internal narrative is the key to unlocking a world of possibilities. When you take control of your thoughts, you start treating life as something you can shape rather than something that simply happens to you. You move from passivity to activity, from wishing and hoping to actually doing. It doesn't mean your journey becomes smooth overnight. Challenges will still arise. You'll face tough days, unforeseen setbacks, and moments of doubt. The difference is that a trained mind handles these challenges like a skilled navigator, constantly adjusting course without losing sight of the destination. Remember, no one is born with a mind that is fully geared toward growth and success. Even the most accomplished individuals had to wrestle with the same doubts and fears that might be swirling in your head right now. They learned how to question those doubts, lean into discomfort, and act in spite of fear. The more you do the same, the more you'll see the mind as an instrument you can tune rather than an unchangeable force. Over time, you'll notice a growing sense of freedom. The freedom to attempt new things, to fail forward, and stand back up whenever life knocks you down. Ultimately, whether your mind ends up being your fiercest opponent or your greatest weapon is up to you. By practicing daily discipline, choosing to confront fear rather than flee from it, and surrounding yourself with a healthy mental environment, you create a life guided by purpose. You become the writer of your story, rather than a character reacting to every plot twist. Embrace the process, stay patient through the setbacks, and keep your eyes on the benefits of mastering your mind. By making that choice, you transform your thoughts from a source of limitation into a fountain of possibility. And that is where real, lasting change begins.